My name is Elisa, and I'm 25 years old. It was my birthday, the kind of evening that seems perfect from the outside, but feels spoiled the moment you step inside it. A small family gathering in my parents' dining room with warm lights, shiny glasses, and smiles that never quite reached anyone's eyes. I remember thinking as I fixed my dress and accepted the first hug that I should have trusted the tight feeling in my chest that warned me this night was not really about celebrating me at all. My sister arrived late, like she usually did, confident and loud, carrying herself as if the room already belonged to her. And when she hugged me, it was quick, almost formal, her perfume strong and familiar, her smile thin and controlled. Dinner started politely, plates touching, forced laughter echoing off the walls. I tried to stay thankful, tried to convince myself that this was still family, that birthdays could be complicated, that maybe I was just being too sensitive. I poured myself a glass of wine and listened as my parents talked about work, about neighbours, about anything except me. And when my sister finally cleared her throat, the table went quiet in that heavy way that means something sharp is about to be thrown into the air. She looked straight at me, not with anger, but with something colder, something prepared in advance. And on my birthday, my sister said, "We're ashamed that you use our last name." The words landed like a slap, sudden and public. For a moment, I thought I had heard her wrong, that my mind was trying to protect me by twisting the sound. But then I saw my mother nod slowly, her lips pressed together, as if this was a reasonable thing to say, as if shame was some kind of family rule we were all meant to accept. My dad didn't speak, but he looked at my sister with pride. The same proud expression he used to give her when she won awards or spoke confidently in meetings. And that hurt more than anything she could have said herself, because it told me this wasn't a mistake. It was a judgment they had already agreed on before tonight. I just sat there quietly holding my wine, feeling the glass stem slippery between my fingers, my heart beating so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. I stared at the tablecloth because if I looked up, I might cry, and I refused to give them that satisfaction. I thought about all the years I had carried that last name, all the times I had defended it, worked hard for it, tried to make it stand for something good. And suddenly it felt like a costume they were tearing off me in front of everyone. My sister continued explaining in that calm, superior tone how my choices reflected badly on the family, how people talked, how reputation mattered. Each word felt like another small cut, careful and intentional. I wanted to argue. I wanted to ask since when love came with conditions, since when a name was something you had to earn by obedience. But my throat closed, and all that came out was silence. Around us, the room felt smaller, the walls listening, the candles flickering as if they were nervous too. And I suddenly became very aware of how alone I was at my own birthday table. Then I noticed my grandmother sitting at the far end of the table, quiet until now, her hands folded together, her eyes fixed on my sister in a way that made me pause. There was something there I hadn't seen before, a stillness that wasn't weakness, a patience that felt strong and experienced. She pushed her chair back slowly, the legs scraping softly against the floor, and that sound cut through the tension like a blade. No one told her to sit down. No one dared to interrupt. As she stood, the room seemed to hold its breath. I could feel my sister stiffen. I saw my mother glance nervously between them, and my father's proud expression wavered slightly. Grandma straightened herself, steady despite her age, and I realized that whatever she was about to say mattered. It carried a weight that the rest of us couldn't pretend to have. She looked at me first, really looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something I hadn't felt all evening. Recognition. Then she turned back to my sister. Her voice was calm but clearly firm, and although she said only 2 words, the effect was immediate, like a switch being flipped in the room. My sister's face went pale. I didn't yet understand what those words would mean for me, for us, or for the family story we had been repeating for years. But in that moment, as my wine glass trembled slightly in my hand and my birthday candles burned lower, I knew this night was not over. I knew the shame they tried to place on me was about to be revealed for what it really was. Grandma's 2 words were, "Sit down." They weren't loud, but they didn't need to be. Authority doesn't shout when it knows it will be obeyed. My sister froze like she had been caught doing something she thought no one would challenge. Her confident posture collapsed as she slowly lowered herself back into her chair. Her face drained of colour exactly like the moment promised earlier. My sister's face went pale, and the silence afterward was so thick it felt like it pressed against my ears. Grandma didn't sit down herself. She stayed standing, her hands resting lightly on the table, her eyes sharp and clear. Then she spoke again, this time more than 2 words, and every sentence landed exactly where it needed to. She said she had watched this family for decades. She had watched pride slowly turn into cruelty, and standards turn into weapons. She said she was tired of seeing love handed out like a prize instead of given freely. She looked at my parents and asked them when they had decided that image mattered more than their own child. My mother opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Her nod from earlier now looked small and embarrassed instead of confident. My father tried to defend himself, saying he only wanted what was best for the family name. And that was when Grandma gave a sad smile and said the family name meant nothing if it was used to crush the people who carried it. I felt something shift inside me, like a knot slowly loosening, because for the first time that night, someone was saying out loud what I had felt for years but never had the courage to say myself. Grandma turned toward me again and told everyone how I had helped her after my grandfather died, how I had come to visit when no one else had time, how I had carried groceries for her, listened to her stories, and fixed small things around her house without ever asking for praise or recognition. Every example made my sister sink lower in her chair because it created a picture that didn't match the story she had just tried to sell. My parents looked stunned, almost like they were seeing me for the first time in their lives, and I wondered how invisible I must have been for so many years if it took this moment for them to notice. Grandma finished by saying that if anyone at this table should feel ashamed, it wasn't the daughter who lived honestly, but the people who tried to rewrite her value just to protect their own pride. And with that, she finally sat down. The room seemed to exhale all at once, like it had been holding its breath the entire evening. No one spoke for a few seconds. Then my sister laughed nervously, trying to brush it off as an overreaction. But the laugh died quickly because no one joined her, not even my parents. I took a sip of my wine, my hands steadier now, and realized I wasn't shaking anymore. Something important had happened. The balance of power had shifted. My mother finally apologized quietly, without excuses, and my father stared down at his plate, his pride wounded in a way that couldn't easily be repaired. For the first time, I didn't rush to make them feel comfortable again. I let the silence remain because it wasn't my responsibility to fix it. The rest of the evening passed awkwardly. Conversations were forced, cake was eaten without excitement, and when it was finally time to leave, my sister avoided my eyes completely, her earlier confidence gone. Grandma hugged me last, and held me longer than anyone else. She whispered that a name doesn't create a person, but a person can give new meaning to a name. I carried those words with me as I stepped outside into the cool night air, feeling lighter than I had in years. That birthday didn't magically repair my family, and it didn't turn my sister into a different person overnight. But it did something more important. It reminded me that I didn't need their permission to belong to myself or to my own story. I went home knowing that whatever shame they tried to give me was never truly mine to carry, and that sometimes the quiet people sitting at the table are the strongest ones, simply waiting for the right moment to speak and change everything.
If you like our video, do not forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos.